Level 1 Ingredient Handler. You don't enter the toothpaste factory through the bright bathroom scene people imagine. You enter through the ingredient warehouse, where the air is clean, dry, and sharp under cold white lights. Before toothpaste becomes a smooth stripe on a toothbrush, before it tastes like mint, before it promises fresh breath or a cleaner smile. It begins here as containers, drums, cartons, tubes, caps, labels, and lot numbers. Your first job is simple: move, scan, check, separate, and stage. But nothing here feels casual. Shelves hold safe industrial containers of ingredients. Pallets of empty tubes wait in plastic wrap, boxes of caps, cartons, printed sleeves, and shipping cases are stacked beside carts and labeled zones. The room smells faintly of mint, cardboard, plastic, and clean storage air. A scanner chirps in your hand as you match numbers that do not mean much to you yet. A supervisor reminds you that one wrong lot can slow the mixing room. One damaged carton of tubes can create trouble at the filling line. One misplaced fragrance container can send people searching while production waits. Outside, someone will stand in front of a mirror half awake, squeeze toothpaste onto a brush, and start the day without thinking about this place. They will not picture you checking labels, pushing carts, or feeling nervous beside materials that still look nothing like a finished product. At the bottom of the system, toothpaste does not feel like freshness yet. It feels like inventory, hygiene, codes, and responsibility. The clean feeling people trust every morning begins before the tube exists. It begins with someone making sure the right materials move to the right place. And as another pallet of empty tubes rolls toward production, you ask yourself, how many people stand behind one tube of toothpaste? Level 2 Mixing Worker. Now you move from the warehouse into the mixing room, where toothpaste begins to stop being separate materials and starts becoming one controlled product. The room is brighter, cleaner, and more serious than the storage area. Stainless steel tanks stand behind polished rails, pipes curve overhead, control screens glow beside batch sheets, sealed containers, hoses, and carefully marked staging zones. The smell of mint is stronger here, but it is still not the sharp freshness customers know. It is mixed with the clean metallic scent of equipment and the quiet pressure of a room where mistakes can disappear into the batch. Your role is to help the mixture begin correctly. Confirm materials, follow the batch order, watch transfers, check labels, and make sure the right ingredients reach the right tank at the right time. At level 1, a mistake could still be stopped in a carton or on a pallet. Here, once something enters the tank, the problem becomes harder to see. If the balance is wrong, the paste may become too thin, too thick, unstable, uneven, or difficult to fill later. The machine does not create trust by itself. It needs people watching the process before You look through a small viewing window and see a pale, dense mixture, turning slowly inside the stainless tank. It does not look like the perfect stripe on a toothbrush yet. It looks heavy, controlled, and unfinished. Outside, people think toothpaste is simple because it appears with one squeeze. Inside, you learn that smoothness begins with discipline. The clean feeling of a morning routine starts here as timing, order, mixing, and precision. And once the base is formed, the next level brings you to the part customers. Remember first, the flavor that tells their brain their mouth is clean. Level 3 Flavor Technician. At level 3, you move into the flavor area and the factory suddenly feels closer to the bathroom mirror. The customer knows. The product is still inside tanks, hoses, and sample cups. But now the air carries a sharper mint note, clean and cold enough to make you understand why people connect toothpaste with freshness. Small containers of flavor bases sit on clean counters. Sample strips, test cups, sealed bottles, and batch records are arranged carefully under white lab-style lights. Your role is to help protect the flavor profile. Confirm the right mint variant, prepare samples, compare aroma, watch how flavor enters the base, and make sure nothing feels too weak, too strong, or wrong for the product promise. At level 2, you learned that the base gives toothpaste its structure. Here, you learn that flavor gives it emotion. People do not only brush because they want their teeth cleaned, they want the feeling afterward, a cool mouth, fresh breath, a signal that the day has begun properly. If the mint is too faint, the product feels cheap. If it is too aggressive, it becomes unpleasant. If the wrong flavor enters the wrong batch, the mistake may not look obvious, but the customer will feel it instantly. You hold a small sample near your face, and the scent hits before the product even touches anything. That is when you realize freshness is partly chemistry, partly memory, and partly expectation. A technician compares two samples and pauses over one that smells slightly off. The room stays calm, but the batch record is checked again. Outside, someone will call it mint toothpaste and move on. Inside, you see how carefully that simple word is protected. And once the flavor is right, the next level asks whether the paste itself feels right when it finally leaves the tube. Level 4 Texture Control Worker at Level 4. You step into the texture control area, where toothpaste is judged not by its promise, but by the way it behaves. The paste has already been mixed and flavored, but now it must prove that it can look, move, squeeze, and hold its shape the way customers expect. Samples are placed under clean white lights. Some are pressed onto smooth test trays. Some are drawn into neat lines. Some are checked for thickness, smoothness, air bubbles, color consistency, and the way the stripe forms when pressure is applied. Your role is to watch the paste as a physical product, not just a formula. At Level 3, flavor told the customer their mouth was fresh. Here, texture tells them whether the product feels trustworthy before it even reaches their teeth. If the paste is too loose, it spreads and looks cheap. If it is too thick, it becomes hard to squeeze from the tube. If bubbles appear, the line may fill badly. If the color stripe breaks or bends strangely, the product can look defective even when the formula is acceptable. You watch a technician press a sample into a clean ribbon across a tray. It should look smooth, even, and controlled. Instead, one sample shows a slight break in the line. Nobody panics, but everyone pays attention. Outside, a person gives toothpaste, only 2 seconds of judgment when they squeeze it onto a brush. Inside, those 2 seconds are built from tests, samples, lights, instruments, and quiet decisions. You begin to understand that trust is not only what toothpaste does, it is how it looks the moment it appears. And once the paste finally behaves the way it should, the next level sends it into the empty tubes waiting on the filling line. Level 5 Tube Filling Operator at Level 5. The toothpaste finally enters the form people recognize. You stand beside the filling line, where empty tubes move forward in neat rows, open and waiting, while the thick paste travels through clean lines toward the filling nozzles. The room feels mechanical but controlled. White lights, stainless guards, rotating tube holders, sealed hoses, caps staged nearby, and the steady sound of machines pulling the product from hidden tanks into visible shape. Your role is to watch the fill, the amount, the alignment, the tube position, the speed, and whether the paste enters cleanly without smearing, trapping air, or overflowing. At Level 4, texture was tested on trays. Here, texture has to survive the machine. If the paste is too difficult to fill, the line suffers. If a tube sits slightly off, center product can smear around the opening. If the fill is too low, the customer feels cheated. If it is too high, the factory loses product across thousands of tubes. You watch white and blue paste disappear into empty tubes one after another, and for the first time, the product stops feeling like a batch and starts feeling like something that belongs on a bathroom shelf. Then one tube tilts. Another comes through with a small smear near the edge. The line does not stop emotionally, it only reacts mechanically, pushing the next tube forward until workers catch the issue. You pull questionable tubes aside and feel how quickly a clean product can become messy. Outside, someone will squeeze the tube without thinking. Inside, you know that squeeze depends on filling pressure, tube position, machine timing, and workers watching for small failures at high speed. And once the tube is filled, the next level asks whether it can be sealed tightly enough to protect the promise inside. Level 6 Sealing Worker. At Level 6, the filled tube is no longer just a container. It becomes a promise that has to stay closed. You stand beside the sealing section, where tubes move forward after filling, still open at one end, still vulnerable to leaks, smears, weak edges, crooked caps, or unreadable codes. The machines work with a steady rhythm: align, press, seal, trim, cap, mark, release. It sounds simple until you watch how quickly one small problem can spread through a row of products. Your role is to monitor the seal, the cap, the tube shape, the printed lock code, and the way each filled tube exits the station. At level 5, the paste entered the tube here. The factory decides whether the tube can survive storage, shipping, shelves, bathroom drawers, and repeated use. A weak seal can leak before the customer ever opens the box. A crooked cap can make the product look cheap. A blurry code can create a traceability issue. A tube squeezed slightly wrong by the machine can look damaged, even if the paste inside is fine. You watch one tube pass under the sealer and come out clean, tight, and straight. Then another shows a slight fold near the bottom edge. It is small, but small matters here. That tube is pulled aside before it can disappear into packaging. Outside, people trust toothpaste without thinking. They expect the cap to close, the tube to hold, and the product to stay clean. Inside, that trust is built by heat, pressure, alignment, and workers who notice the smallest weakness before the customer does. And once the tube is sealed, the next level asks whether the finished product truly deserves to leave the factory. Level 7 Quality Inspector. Level 7. You step away from the filling and sealing machines into the quality area, where toothpaste is no longer just moving through production. It is being judged. Finished tubes are pulled from the line and placed under bright white inspection lights. Some are weighed, some are squeezed onto test trays. Some are checked for seal strength, cap fit, printed code clarity, paste texture, color, scent, and whether the tube and box match the correct product variant. Your role is to question what everyone else wants to send forward. At level 6, the tube was sealed. Here, you decide whether that seal, that fill, that texture, and that promise are good enough to leave the factory. A tube can look perfect from a distance and still fail when you check closely. The weight may be slightly off. The cap may not sit cleanly. The paste may show tiny air pockets. The mint scent may feel different from the approved sample. The printed lock code may look too faint. Production wants flow. Packaging wants product. The warehouse wants cartons. But your job is not to make the line comfortable. Your job is to protect the person standing at a sink tomorrow morning, expecting the same clean feeling they trusted yesterday. You press a sample onto a tray and watch the stripe form. It looks smooth, but you pause over the end of the line where the color bends slightly. That pause matters. It can hold a batch, create questions, and slow the day down. No one likes a hold, but nobody wants a bad tube reaching a customer either. By the end of the inspection, you understand that quality control is not about finding obvious disasters. It is about catching small betrayals before they become part of someone's daily routine. And once the tubes pass inspection, the next level brings you to the boxes, cartons, barcodes, and pallets that decide how the product appears on the shelf. Level 8 Packaging Supervisor. At level 8, the toothpaste leaves the inspection table and enters the part of the factory where trust becomes something a customer can recognize from across a store aisle. Tubes move toward the packaging line where folded boxes wait open. Cartons stand ready, barcode checks blink under scanner lights, and workers move between machines that must stay synchronized. Your role is no longer to watch one tube at a time. Now you supervise the flow, the right tube into the right box, the right variant into the right carton, the right code on the right package, the right count on the right pallet. At level 7, quality protected the product itself. Here, packaging protects identity. A whitening tube placed in a sensitive, care box can confuse customers and retailers. A barcode problem can stop shipments. A damaged carton can make a clean product look careless. A missing tube inside a retail pack can become a complaint that starts far away from the factory floor. You walk the line with a radio clipped to your belt, checking box feeders, carton counts, printed codes, worker pace, and the production board. Everything looks clean, but clean does not mean calm. One box jams and several tubes back up behind it. A worker clears the station while you decide whether to slow the line long enough to prevent a larger mistake. Some people look at the clock, others look at the product flow. You begin to understand that packaging is not the easy ending. It is where toothpaste becomes a shelf item, a brand color, a promise, a barcode, a case count, and a shipment. Outside, someone chooses a box in seconds. Inside, those seconds depend on alignment, labels, cartons, supervisors, and a line that cannot afford to mix trust with confusion. And once the cartons are sealed and palletized, the next level moves beyond the factory into the distribution system that decides whether the toothpaste is there when the customer reaches for it. Level 9 Personal Care Distribution Manager. At Level 9, the toothpaste has left the production line, but it has not reached the customer yet. You stand inside a finished goods warehouse where cartons of toothpaste are stacked on pallets, wrapped in plastic, labeled by variant, destination, retailer, and shipment priority. The room smells like cardboard, plastic wrap, and faint mint escaping from thousands of sealed tubes. Forklifts move between aisles. Trucks wait at the dock. Screens show inventory levels, retailer orders, warehouse slots, delivery routes, pharmacy demand, supermarket replenishment, e-commerce stock, and which product variant is moving faster than expected. At Level 8, you supervised packaging, so the right tube entered the right box. Here, you manage the system that decides whether that box appears in the right store at the right time. Toothpaste is small, but the volume is huge. A single pallet can hold thousands of daily routines. A shipment delay can leave a shelf empty. A barcode problem can slow a retailer's receiving process. A wrong variant sent to the wrong region can create inventory that sits while another product sells out. You begin to understand that toothpaste is a habit product. People do not always search deeply for it. They reach for what is available, what they recognize, what they trust. If your brand is missing when they need it, another tube can replace months of loyalty in a few seconds. You look at a pallet labeled for a pharmacy chain and remember every level behind it. Ingredients, mixing, flavor, texture, filling, sealing, inspection, packaging. All that hidden work now depends on warehouse discipline, order accuracy, truck timing, and shelf presence. Outside, toothpaste feels like a simple bathroom item here. It becomes a battle for availability. And once you understand how easily a customer can switch when the shelf is empty, the final level brings you to the people who decide what trust is supposed to look, taste, and feel like. Level 10 Toothpaste Brand Owner. At Level 10, the factory noise is gone, but the pressure has followed you into a cleaner, quieter room. You sit at a polished table with toothpaste samples, packaging mock-ups, sales reports, customer research, retailer data, and campaign screens spread in front of you. At Level 9, you learned that toothpaste must be on the shelf at the exact moment a customer needs it. Here, you decide why they should choose your tube instead of the one beside it. Your role is to shape the brand, the formula direction, the mint profile, the texture, the tube design, the price, the claims, the family pack, the sensitive, care line, the whitening line, the kids version, and the feeling of confidence printed on the box around you. People speak in careful business language: stronger freshness, better shelf visibility, cleaner design, higher trust, lower cost, premium care, more repeat purchase. But behind every phrase, you now see the ladder you climbed. You remember the ingredient handler moving drums, tubes, caps, and cartons before sunrise. You remember the mixing worker watching a pale paste form inside a steel tank. You remember the flavor technician protecting the mint note that tells people their mouth is clean. You remember the texture worker studying whether the paste holds its shape for 2 seconds on a toothbrush. You remember the filling operator catching smears and crooked tubes. You remember the sealing worker stopping weak seals before they leaked into someone's bathroom drawer. You remember the quality inspector pausing over tiny air pockets, faint lock codes, and slightly bent color stripes. You remember the packaging supervisor making sure the right tube entered the right box. You remember the distribution manager fighting for shelf presence before another brand takes the customer's hand. Now every one of those levels reaches your desk. If you make the mint too soft, the product may not feel fresh. If you make it too strong, people may reject it. If you cut packaging costs too far, the tube may look cheaper than the promise. If the box claims too much, trust can break faster than a weak seal. The tube in front of you looks ordinary because people use it every morning without thinking. That is exactly what makes it powerful. It hides ingredients, machines, workers, quality checks, cartons, trucks, shelf battles, and years of habit inside one small object beside a sink. You began at the bottom, where toothpaste was only containers, codes, and empty tubes. You end at the top, where toothpaste becomes freshness, confidence, health perception, routine, and brand trust. The product is never just paste in a tube. It is a daily promise compressed into something people squeeze before they face the world. So when the next meeting asks whether this toothpaste should be cheaper, fresher, brighter, more premium, or easier to sell, the real question is not only what makes someone reach for the box, the real question is who carries the pressure that makes a morning routine feel effortless. If you want to see another hidden system from the bottom to the top, comment which factory or global brand we should enter next.